Happy Friday, hockey heads, and welcome back inside the lab to your daily source for fantasy hockey news, NHL takes, and betting breakdowns. It's the Locked On Fantasy Hockey Podcast, and we're hitting the blue line to take a look at some of the best blue liners not named Hughes or Makar, and we got to get to this league-wide injury update. Let's get this paper.
You're Locked On Fantasy Hockey, your daily podcast on fantasy hockey.
Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
If you're still pushing to the top of the fantasy mountain, we got you covered on the Friday episode of the Locked On Fantasy Hockey Podcast, where you know we couldn't be doing this without our everydayers. We see you, we appreciate you, and much love for holding us down and making us your first listen every single day. The comments, the DMs, we can be doing this show without you guys, seriously, and I know I speak for Steele on this one. Much love to everybody out there making us your first listen. Today's episode, we're going to get to a whole bunch of different topics, Steele. Injury, NHL-wide update, a bunch of stars here that we need to touch in on because they'll be having impacts on your roster for the upcoming couple of days. And the blue line, I think you and I have teased at this for forever. Other than Makar and Hughes, who is the best fantasy blue liner in the game? Because I think it's clear that those are 1 and 2. We're also going to get to some updated Norris Trophy odds. We've touched on all the other trophies, Steele, that matter. We'll touch on the Norris as well. Big time bets. I believe there's 5 games on tonight's board. I'm intrigued to hear what you have to say. But over to you, because look, a lot of injuries here. I see Shesterkin coming back. I see a lot of other angles with Frederik Andersen and otherwise that we have to cover. Sean Monahan, Evgeni Malkin, wherever you want to start, I'm ready to go. But I think there's some angles here that an astute fantasy GM needs to know what to do with and what's going on here.
Yeah, Shesterkin back in the crease. Let's start with him. He's the one returning player, as we know of right now, that is getting back into action. He got the start last night against the New Jersey Devils. We don't know the result of that as we're recording a little bit early on Thursday. But right now it's go time for him and the New York Rangers' entire squad. I mean, they cannot afford to lose any more games at this point. They need to start stringing some wins together. And like we've talked about, the Eastern Conference is as close as it's ever been in a while. You go down all the way to the last place in the Eastern Conference currently, and you're looking at the Buffalo Sabres, who are, like we talked about on yesterday's episode, 9 points back of a wild card spot. So the Rangers are not out of it by any means. They've been losing quite frequently. They're 18, 20, and 2. They're 6 points back of that second wild card spot. And 12 points back of the third in the Metropolitan. So the distance has been getting farther apart for the Rangers for their division, but a wild card opportunity is still there. Shesterkin is a key piece of this. He needs to shut down the blue paint. He needs to shut down the fort. He needs to be a brick wall for them because as of right now, like we've seen, they're playing really bad hockey, very sloppy defensively. They're letting down Jonathan Quick in that game against the Dallas Stars.
Fact.
And, again, we talked about Jonathan Quick's value for this upcoming week. The value goes down now with Shesterkin back. He is going to get a lot of games in the second half of this season. So he comes back. He needs to be at his best.
That's the take right there. Fantasy tidbit, quick. Toast. Shesterkin, 11-5, 15-1, 3.10 goals against, and a .906 save percentage in 27 games this season. I still think there's a lot of value to be had here with this New York Rangers club. You're starting to see it a little bit with a sleeping beast in Vincent Trocheck. Look, Kaliev's in the lineup now. Maybe some of these fresh blood angles. Shesterkin, your number one guy back in the cage. Do I think this team's ready to turn it around and take the Metro by storm? I don't think I'm that bullish on it, but I think that they will have a nice turnaround here, Steele. And that means jump on some of these pieces that perhaps people forgot about. Jump on the Will Coolies who had a hot start. Jump back on the Zibanejad train if you can get it. Jump back on Lafreniere because I really do think you're going to start to see some value here in the New York Rangers. Is it going to take a game or two? Perhaps, but it's going to come, Steele, especially with their number one man back in the blue paint. Evgeni Malkin this season. late scratch on Tuesday. He was one of those players that started red hot and people were all over him. 32 points in 41 games this season, still very fantasy relevant. And because of the name, I know for a fact there's a lot of GMs out there wondering what's going on with Gino. Look, with a guy who's 38 years old, who has played the amount of minutes that he's had and also had some issues with injuries over the course of his career, for the most part durable, but at this age, it's going to happen. This is one of those spots that if you are a GM in the top or in the mix and you're just going to hang on to Malkin for the name, make sure you're reading all of these reports on the daily. Right now, there's not much, but with a name that big and a player who's still been productive, Steele and I are going to come on and at least give you the heads up about it. Keep your eyes peeled with Malkin. What do you think about this situation for Malkin, though? Because in Pittsburgh, Steele, it's a little bit of a powder keg right now.
Yeah, he's a game time decision against he was a game time decision against the Edmonton Oilers, so we don't know if he's actually playing. If he does miss this,
True.
Be back as soon as Saturday against
Good
the
point.
Senators. So he's nearing to return at least, which is good news for fantasy owners out there who have him. And again, the Pittsburgh Penguins are depending on all of their veterans right now. Erik Karlsson, Chris Letang, Sidney Crosby, Evgeni Malkin when he's in the lineup. So that you have to push with. You're getting a lot of offensive opportunity and a lot of offensive production right now from Michael Bunting, which has been pretty good for the Pittsburgh Penguins. That could be a guy to fill in.
Good point.
Out there who have Evgeni Malkin and hasn't returned yet. There are options out there who are getting some opportunity in Pittsburgh, but it's really, again, they're buying into the whole veteran leadership here and trying to surround the pieces around them. So Evgeni Malkin in the lineup, hot start, slow down a little bit. Hopefully he comes back from injury and just kind of gets back into what he does best.
Tricky little stretch here for the Penguins with a bit of a mixed bag of opponents, but Oilers, Sens, who have been playing well, Lightning, Kraken, who have been up and down. Then you got the Caps and Kings. So this is a spot where I'm going to be very wary in general about Pittsburgh Penguins not named Sidney Crosby. So Malkin, day to day, or he might have been in, we record early. However, if this is a nagging situation and things start to go south in Pittsburgh with, by the way, 2 shutout losses and an OT loss in their last 3 games, Steele, that can get ugly for a team very quickly. Let's just talk about Sean Monahan super fast. I wanted to mention Frederik Andersen was due to be out 8 to 12 weeks. He's back skating with the Carolina Hurricanes. As we get more info there, we'll talk about it because I do think, Steele, not like in the past, they're not going to go back to Freddie, I don't think, right away by veteran leadership. This is Kochekhov's crease now. So maybe we'll talk about that on tomorrow's episode. We got a whole bunch of episodes coming up. We also have our Blue Line chat after the break and big time bets. But quickly, Sean Monahan now on the injured reserve, Steele, 14 goals, 27 assists. This has been a guy who's been huge for this team. Next up, Adam Fantilli. Could be a very interesting couple of weeks here for Adam Fantilli. Upper body injury. I don't know a whole bunch of the injury, but it's looking like he's going to miss some time here. So that means Adam Fantilli owners, or run out there and get yourself a piece, because this Columbus team, they can score.
Yeah, finds himself on the IR with a wrist injury right now, will be out for some time. And it's obviously a huge loss for the Columbus Blue Jackets. That top line of Marchenko and Voronkov with Monahan down the middle has just been insane to watch. The chemistry that they have formed in the first half of the season is undeniable. It's so cool to watch them really just shine bright in Columbus and kind of take back that market and the fan base enjoying it as well. So tough loss for them. Like you said, though, Adam Fantilli getting the opportunity to center them on that top line. He's only rostered at 14% on Yahoo right now. He's got 4 points in his last 3 games. So he's feeling the confidence. He's feeling it offensively. So that is a great option right there to fill in for Sean Monahan as he is stashed away on the IR for your fantasy hockey teams. So tough loss for them, but they're still cooking right now. And as our boy Troy probably feels, he feels very confident with this team.
I think the fact that the attention and the amount of episodes that we've now mentioned the Columbus Blue Jackets, they're a little bit for real. Are they going to make noise in the playoffs?
They're rubbing off on us.
That's a stretch. They are rubbing off on us, though, and because of what we've been saying about them for a year and a half, amazing week-to-week streams, but some of these players, Voronkov, Chinnikov's coming back as well. Marchenko's been one of the most improved players this season. It's not even close. He's been sensational. So they have earned our attention and our credit. We'll do the same for another Columbus Blue Jacket player. I have a feeling, Steele, when we're talking about blue liners, up after the break, big time bets coming up as well. You know where you're going to be placing those bets with our friends at FanDuel Sportsbook. From big upsets, game-winning drives, the NFL playoffs this weekend, they're better with FanDuel. Right now, new customers that bet $5, Steele, you know I'm fired up about this one. Get $200 in bonus bets guaranteed. $200 in bonus bets, win or lose. The FanDuel app gives you everything you need to hit live bets, same-game parlays, and so much more. Visit the website. You can also get it on the app. Join FanDuel.com today. Get started with that $200 in bonus bets at FanDuel.com. Make the playoff season unforgettable with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL.
And thank you so much for making the Locked On Fantasy Hockey Pod your first listen every single day. Flip and I appreciate all that love and support you're showing us on the YouTube channel, on Twitter as well, all the feedback, all the 5-star reviews, the comments, the opinions. We appreciate all of you out there. We couldn't be doing this without you. So thank you so much. We got to show that love as much as possible on every single episode.
Always.
We're showing some love, though, to the Columbus Blue Jackets like we've been doing all season very frequently. And we're going to show some love to Zach Werenski. Let's look at these Norris Trophy odds. Like we quickly mentioned last episode, Cale Makar, the clear favorite right now at -270. You've got Quinn Hughes at +300 and then +650 for Zach Werenski. This is a 3-dog race right now, just like the Calder Trophy race with those rookies out there. Very close with these 3 players, but Zach Werenski at +650. I mean, I think I mentioned this to you the other day. I can't remember if I said it on the episode, but if the Columbus Blue Jackets are to make the postseason, Zach Werenski needs to get the recognition and a serious vote for this Norris Trophy, because at what he's been able to do this year, and pull up the stats again, correct me if I'm wrong, 41 points in 40 games, I believe it is. Sorry, 46 points in 41 games. The only one of 3 defensemen right now who have double-digit goals. He has 12 goals on the year, +6, 161 shots. He's playing over 26 and a half minutes of average ice time this season. They are working him, and he is loving every second of it. He's been dominating in the defensive zone. He's been dominating on the power play. Got to show some love to him on the Norris Trophy odds at +650.
And let's be very clear. When this player has been healthy, since entering the league at even 19 years old, when he finished with 47 points in 78 games and also finished 3rd in Calder voting, he has been on every fantasy hockey GM's radar. The problem has been sometimes an inability to stay in the lineup. However, given the makeup of how good he has been when on the ice, I think it's one of those players that now, after what we saw last year and now this year, you almost have to, considering also the position he plays, Steele, you almost have to just consider rolling the dice with the injury risk. He's been that good. Interestingly enough, and I think very indicative of this young Columbus Blue Jackets team, is they sit now 6th in goals for, but they also sit 3rd worst in goals allowed at 148. So I don't want to exactly run out there and just say that this blue line is anchored by Werenski at both ends of the ice, but I also don't want to throw this kid under the bus, because the fact that this team allows that many goals really isn't his fault. I just wanted to throw out that stat out there, because after Cale Makar, after Quinn Hughes, we're talking odds. Clearly it's Werenski. But in the fantasy realm, in terms of what blue liner is that locked in number 3, before this year, I don't know if we would have thrown him in that 3rd spot, Steele. I think we would have probably thrown these 3 guys. And hit me with your take on this, because this year, he's that guy. After Makar and Hughes, it's Werenski this year. He's earned it. But I think we would have done this way. Evan Bouchard, perhaps. Roman Josi, perhaps. And you know how I feel in the 5th spot? I would have maybe thrown Victor Hedman in there because of the peripheral coverage. That's me, though, and the peripherals. But there's some other names that probably would have been in the mix ahead of Werenski. And this year, he is definitely in there for the Norris. That's number 1. And number 2, you got to lock him in there. After Hughes and Makar, this guy has been absolutely sensational as a fantasy blue liner. None come this offensively gifted as Werenski and those other 2 guys on top of him.
It's been incredible to watch his career offensively. I mean, you look
Josh
at Josh
Morrissey in that mix too. My bad.
Yeah, Josh Morrissey in the mix for sure. But Zach Werenski, you look at his career in his full professional NHL stint right now. only 2 seasons has he gone with less than double digits in goals. That goes back to 2020 and the 2022 season when he played less than 36 games in both years. So he's an offensive juggernaut when he has the puck on his stick. He definitely deserves the recognition. I'm surprised you didn't mention Adam Fox as one of those defensemen.
My bad.
Who
Throw
should have
him
been
in
the
there
top
too.
five. I thought you were going to say him over Victor Hedman. So
I
was
should
a
put
little
Adam
surprised
Fox in there against Hedman, but I just like Hedman that much. But Hedman and Morrissey also should be in that mix as well.
Hedman's been great. Fox, obviously, a little bit sluggish offensively.
I'll put Fox
only
ahead
one
of
goal on the only 1 goal on the season for Fox. The one defenseman that I want to talk about, I love this player. Norris Trophy odd-wise, like, there's no reason to bet on him. It's not going to happen, but we need to talk about Shea Theodore, obviously the Vegas Golden Knights, but Shea Theodore at plus 15,000 right now. He comes in with the 6th best odds of the Norris Trophy. Like I said, it's a 3-dog race right now, but he has been absolutely fantastic. So you look fantasy-wise, again, outside of Cale, Makar, Quinn, Hughes, and Zach Werenski right now, fantasy-wise, the top 3 in the league. I think Shea Theodore deserves some more recognition and deserves our attention from what he's been able to do in Vegas right now. He's in 3rd on the team in points with 33 and 39 games, 14 penalty minutes, 73 shots, 49 blocks, and 4 hits. The peripherals, you would like to see a little bit higher, but I think he's such a skilled defenseman, a power defenseman who can make the clean passes, who can join the rush, who can take the puck end to end and has a little bit of dangling abilities. And stick handling abilities. You know how I feel about Shea Theodore, another defenseman who has really struggled once again to stay healthy over the last couple of years. 47 games played last season, 55 the year prior to that. Another D-man who has struggled to stay healthy in the lineup, but this year he's been good. The Vegas Golden Knights are rolling right now, so I wanted to show some love to Shea Theodore fantasy-wise because he's been phenomenal.
Fantasy-wise, I'm not going to disagree with you at all, and I think just general hockey sense and attention and Norris Trophy-wise, he plays on too good of a blue line to get that Norris Trophy love, in my opinion, and I know Cale Makar's got a decent one, but when you look at Quinn Hughes, you look at Werenski, and you look at a guy who's really that best defenseman doing it himself, Shea Theodore plays on the second pairing in Vegas, and he's insulated by some very good blue liners. If I'm nitpicking, if I'm playing devil's advocate, that's where I think he probably doesn't get the credit he probably deserves in those Norris Trophy circles. But fantasy-wise, you got it spot on, like we usually do, I hope, Steele, on these episodes. Let's get to big-time bets if you're ready. I'm ready to ride here. Let's have a big weekend. I don't know when we'll be back next. Saturday specials, I don't know. But I'll be here next week holding you guys down, some solo episodes. Steele's going on a little trip-us. I don't know if that's next week or not, Steele, but I think it is. It's coming up, baby. So make sure you guys are tapped right here. Big Flip will be flying off the handle solo for a few episodes. Make sure you tap in.
Tapped in for the Locked On Fantasy Hockey Pod. Big time bets coming up next. But first, this episode is also brought to you by Game Time. If you're like Flip and I and love going to live events, whether it's sports, music, theater, or comedy, then Game Time is the app for you. One of my favorite memories was attending a concert last year. The energy is and excitement, it's unforgettable, especially when you're with friends and family. Now, Game Time has made it even easier to get tickets for your favorite events with their new feature, Game Time Picks. This feature filters out all the fluff to show you only incredible deals on great seats, so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets. Recently, I was looking for for some tickets for an upcoming Leaf game using the Game Time app, and with Game Time Picks, like I said, I found amazing deals and could even see the view from my seat before purchase. The super deal was particularly impressive, offering great seats on unbeatable prices. Plus, the app's all-in pricing shows the total cost upfront with no surprise fees at checkout, which I absolutely love. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it? It's game time. And once again, thank you so much for making the Locked On Fantasy Hockey Pod your first listen every single day. Continue to smash that subscribe button, the follow button. We really do appreciate it. We're getting so close to 2,000 subscribers on YouTube. Help us reach our goal there. We appreciate all of you. So thank you so much for all of that. However, I do want to start off big time bets with an apology to all of our listeners out there.
Yeah, that was
I want to apologize for that same game parlay, the
You
Colorado
should.
Avalanche and Chicago Blackhawks. I am going to think twice when betting against Peter Mrazek from now on, because
Whoa.
holy cannoli.
Whoa.
He
Yeah,
stood
holy
on his head
cannoli.
out there. Holy cannoli out there.
Yeah. So
I had to apologize because
let's move on.
let's move on. I had to get that out there. But
File that one under N for never again, Steele.
5 games on the schedule for Friday night. Flip, over to you, my friend. Where are you looking first?
I'll spit it quick. These Detroit Red Wings have looked real good under McLeod.
Yes.
They have turned it around, and I'm not ready to ride them all the way into the playoffs. But when you take a look at Chicago, I think they're actually on a decent little clip here, Chicago. I'm not buying into it. Not at all buying into it. The Detroit Red Wings have good numbers against the Chicago Blackhawks at home over their last 10. Give me Wings on the money line, along with Patty Kane has looked decent over the last little stretch.
He's been so good.
And he always brings it in the 2 games against the Chicago Blackhawks in his career as a Detroit Red Wing. I believe both were as a Detroit Red Wing. He's looked sensational, and he has 2 points in 2 games. So he has 22 on the season in 35 games. I'm going to put them together. Chicago into Detroit, Wings on the money line, and Patty Kane anytime point. I'm going to put those together along with my lock of the night, Sharks, Yeti, Utah, whatever. It's going over the number. The last 3 games between these 2 teams have produced well over 20 goals. They have been shootouts. They've been barn burners, however you want to describe it. Both teams actually feeling it offensively as well. Lock of the night, Yeti, Sharks, over 6.5, along with the Wings on the money line and Patty Kane anytime point.
I'm loving those 2 picks from the Detroit Red Wings game. Over 6.5. I'm just going to stay away from that one. Utah's actually been pretty good defensively. I know in the history between those 2 teams, it goes over the number. I'm going to stay away from that one personally, but I'm loving the first 2 picks because I also went with the Red Wings on the money line at -176 against the Chicago Blackhawks. And I know I just said I'm going to think twice when betting against Peter Mrazek. I thought about it twice. I thought about it thrice. I thought about it 4 times. I'm still going with the Red Wings on the money line. Like you said, they're 6-3-1 in their last 10 against Chicago. They're on a 5-game winning streak. The new head coach, McClellan, he's turned this team around. He's got them back to playing hockey. You've done it your entire lives, getting after it. Red Wings on the money line. I'm with you. Second pick, I'm taking the Canucks on the money line at +134 against the Carolina Hurricanes. This is a back-to-back situation for Carolina. They played Toronto last night with Kochetkov in the blue paint.
So it could be Tokarski in net, I think.
Could be Tokarski in the net once again, which he has struggled a little bit. The Canucks are Canucks are 5-3-2 in their last 10 against Carolina. And Thatcher Demko could be making his return in this game as well. So Canucks on a road trip right now. I'm feeling this one after a tough loss the other night. Canucks on the money line +134 for the second pick. Of the night. Third pick of the night. Jets on the money line against the LA Kings. The Jets have actually struggled against LA in the last 10, but I'm feeling this at home. Taking the favorite team here, just a gut feeling. Jets on the money line -142. Lock of the night though, Red Wings on the money line.
Technically not a side bet, but I'd like to throw down a 10 with you in that LA game. If you don't want to, do it on air, we can talk about it off air.
Yeah, we'll talk about it.
I like that game, though. I'm here with you in terms of your Detroit angle. Tough board. Tough 5-game board. That's a fact. So maybe dial it back Saturday. Tons of games upcoming. I'll have you covered next week with all the bets coming in hot. Shout out to everybody holding us down. We'll see you next week.
Thank you so much for making the Locked On Fantasy Hockey Pod your first listen. For your second listen, though, make sure you go check out the Locked On NHL podcast, where the season never ends. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every single day. From both Flip and I, we wish you good luck with all those bets tonight, your weekly matchups heading into the weekend, and we shall see you back here again on Monday.
Peace.